47b by a Mishnah. You see that? Mem Zayin Amid Beis is a Mishnah. I think Hashem that we're able to learn every day. Supposed to have a learning, we should have the Beis Hamikdash immediately. Because the Mishnah starts, Hareini Alecha Cherem. I should be upon you prohibited like something that's consecrated to the temple. Cherem. Cherem has different meanings. Here, this is what it means. But which means that, let's say there's Reuven and Shimon. So Reuven is telling Shimon that everything that I own is forbidden to you. You can't have any benefit from me. Hareini, I am unto you as something that's consecrated. Next case. Well, it says Hamud Raser. The one that was, the vow was taken about, not the one that took the vow, but the one that the vow was taken, or the recipient of the vow. He's prohibited from having benefit, which is, in this case, would be Shimon. Shimon is prohibited from having benefits from Reuven, the one that spoke the vow. You were upon me, the cherem. That means that Reuven is telling Shimon that I'm not going to have any benefit from you because everything that you have is consecrated, is as if it's consecrated. So then, Hanaider Aser, the one that took the vow is prohibited. In this case, that would be Reuven. Reuven can't have any benefit from Shimon. Hareini alecha va'atalai. I am upon you and you are upon me. Prohibited. So, and this is one person taking the vow. He's prohibiting himself and he's prohibiting the other person also. So, the rule over here is Shneim Asurim. They're all going to be Asur. Shneim Asurim. Both of them are going to be Asur. Okay. Prohibited from having benefit. But then he goes on and he says, but regarding things that were permitted by the Oilei Bavel, this is referring to Ezra, when they came back from Bavel, so they made certain rules of what's considered community property. So they'll be permitted with Oilei Bavel, but Asurim b'davar shalei seir, but they'll be prohibited from things that belong to the city. Now, let's see what they are. We'll see the examples, and there's just a small difference between them. What we're going to see is that the things that belong to the city is everyone in the city is partners in it. And the things that are Oilei Bavel is that they're not partners. It's just like city property. Not every individual in the city is a partner in this. So it's really hefker. What are the things that are Oilei Bavel? So Kagain Harabayas. Yeah, it's not hefker in the sense that anyone can take it. Yeah. But it's not. It's hefker in the way that no one owns it. City park, but the city park the city owns.
No individual owns it.
Right.
Everybody can use it.
Right.
Common land. It's an area that anyone could pasture on it. No one owns it.
Right. That's what this would be. The common land. When you go to a city park and there's fruit growing on the trees, are you allowed to take the fruit? Sea grapes. Sea grapes by the beach.
That's illegal.
To take the grapes from the sea grapes? Really?
Because it's protected. They're usually
no,
sized.
but the grapes. Don't pick the.
Yeah. Because they're usually planted.
I think the grapes are the plants. In the public parks, they only that one.
Right.
It's special.
Right. I'm just saying, you're walking along in one of these parks, so you're allowed to take the fruit.
They never have fruit in public parks.
there's a tree that you can eat the leaf. You're allowed to take it. Who does it belong to? Okay, so okay, so what are the things of Oila Bavel? Kagain Harabayas, the Temple Mount, Azaris, the courtyards. If there's a water well in the middle of the road, so that was meant for people to take from. It doesn't belong to any individual, and it doesn't belong to all the individuals together. It doesn't belong to anyone. It's hefker, just no one can take, no one can keep it, but it has no owner. And so therefore, because that other person that you're not allowed to benefit from lives in the city, that's not going to affect you from benefiting from that well, because it doesn't belong to him either.
Since we don't have fruits on the trees, like I thought of like fish, but then here they require you like to have a fishing license. Would the fish be like?
That's interesting. That's an interesting question. I don't know.
This is why in a roof, putting up an arrow around the well on the way.
Yeah.
Nobody owns it, so everybody has the right to
Right.
create an arrow.
Right. That was a special type of Erev. Possibly rice.
This
Okay.
would be, then this would be a water fountain in a public park.
Right.
Put sell you the soda in it.
Yeah. The Izadavar Shalaisa, what are the things that belong to the city? Now, the things that belong to the city have become problematic in this case because everyone in the city is a partner in this. And because he's not allowed to have benefit from Shimon or Reuven, whichever one, so then Shimon being a partner in this is going to be a problem for Reuven to take part in this. Going Harachava, just like an open area in the city. Amerchatz is the bathhouse. Beis HaKnesses is the shul. Ba'ateva, that's the bima. That's where they would put the Sefer Torah to read from it. Ba'asfarim, and also the Sefer Torah. It's not allowed to have benefit from them because he took a vow from that city, people from that city. So what should he do? Not take the vow. The Gemara is going to add in some words over here, and what he should do is Ba'kaisav Chelka Lenasi. He should actually write over everything that he owns to the. Or it doesn't mean everything that he owns. I think it means he should write over his ownership of this public things. He should give that to the Nasi. Really could give it to anyone, but just we don't trust anyone else. That's maybe someone else is going to take the vow. But we assume that the Nasi is going to be mature enough not to take the vow that what he owns should be prohibited unto someone. That's the case. Rabbi Yehuda, it doesn't matter if he gives it to the Nasi or he gives it to the Hedit. It's the Aleph here. Some take out the ma bein kaisav nasi kaisav Hedit. Okay. Sha kaisav nasi ain't tzarich liskais. He doesn't need to make a special kinyan when he gives it over to the Nasi. Nasi is the leader of the community. He doesn't need to make a special kinyan, but lahedi tzarich liskais. But if it would be a regular person, then he would have to make a special kinyan.
Probably do we incline to be more stringent? You know how like sometimes like when it's by Torah we're more stringent and when it's by rabbis.
Yeah, so this would be considered Torah law.
So we would lean more on the stringent side.
Right. The sages say the sages say that even if he's giving it to the Nasi, he has to make a kinyan. The only thing is, so why do we say Nasi? He said the Nasi is like Dibra Benasi ala Bahaiva. That would be a classical case where someone he wants to allow his friend to be able to use the public things, the synagogue, and all of that. So he would give it to the Nasi. We're going to see soon that a kinyan could be made with. Today, you make a kinyan by clicking here. Do not click twice. Not press back. That's the kinyan today. But years ago, it was like you lifted up a cloth, and today they use a gartel, something at a wedding. By the Tanaim, they lift up a cloth. If it's an item that's a movable item that you're acquiring, then you actually take the item. But if it's something that's not here and not movable or something like that, then you use the cloth. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, ein anshi gold tzrichem lichtev shekvar kasva v'seim al yedayim. This says that the people of Gold don't have to do this because they've already given everything already to the Nasi. You're going to see what type of people they were in Gold and why they had to do this. They've already given it over. So in other words, these public things are not, one person can't prohibit them on his friend because they've already given all their personal rights over to the Nasi. Okay.
Why would anybody prohibit something?
I say friend, I mean fellow.
Right. So in modern days, what would that be comparable to? Anything like that? I won't get, I promise not to get any benefit from you. Why would someone say that? Or because he loves it?
Let's wait for the Gemara. You'll see, and you'll see something in the Gemara. Let me just ask, when the first question here, am I mitzvah? How do they explain what the Gemara is asking? Why is it prohibited?
Why is it forbidden?
Why is what forbidden?
I think we're still in the Gemara. Here says the Gemara asks, why is it forbidden?
Yeah, but it doesn't explain what. It's so interesting. What does it say over there?
This mission appears to teach the women.
Oh, the facilities of the public. Okay, Amar Rav Sheshes, because the Gemara doesn't answer that question. The Gemara just switches the question. So, okay, Amar Rav Sheshes says, Hachiktani. This is what it means to say. Mata kanasa. What is the solution to the person that can't use these facilities? So the solution is yichtbu chelkan l'nasi, that they give over their portion to the nasi, and then it's not his anymore. It's not Shimon's. If it's not Shimon's, and Reuven can use it. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, if you remember in the story with Kairach, Moshe in the fight with Kairach, one of the things that he said was that in the portion, in the communal offerings, everyone contributes. So it's really everyone has a part in that. So he said, don't look at their portion of the communal offerings. That was like, they shouldn't be accepted. Even the part of the community that, okay, there's a parenthesis here that it's just a repeat of the Mishnah and the Gemara doesn't explain it. Usually what happens is the Gemara quotes the Mishnah and then explains it. Here it just quotes it and we learned it already, so really we can just skip it. What do you have next, Rabbi Yehuda Aimer? Ein Anshi Gadol, is that next in your Gemara? In the English Gemaras? Or does it have this brackets? What do you have? Rabbi Yehuda says the people of the Galilee.
Yes.
Okay, so your translation skips it. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Ein Anshi Gadol tzrichem liska shekvar kasva v'seim al yedayim. The people of Galilee, they don't need to give to the Nasi because their fathers already gave it to the Nasi. Tanya was taught in a Brisa, Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Anshi Gadol kantranim payu. They were kantranim. I think the cantankerous. What's the Greek word? Oh, there is a word cantankerous. Like they talk about like a cantankerous old man or something. Right? That's the Kentru. Okay. Anyway, they're quarrelsome. People of the Galilee would always get into fights by Yonajim Hanazem Yizeh. I think this is the answer to your question. they would just prohibit benefit from one another. So Amda Avisayim, the Kasvachal came Lenasi. So their fathers got up and they just wrote that all the public facilities should just belong to the Nasi, not to each other, because otherwise they won't be able to use the streets and the things.
And they all like
Yeah.
So it seems like it just assumes that every citizen is a partner
Right.
in the public works.
Right.
You have ownership interest.
Yeah. However, that was the public works of the city. There were other things of Bavel that were different. Remember these things about the Zion Tuvei that the city can actually sell some of their public things if the 7 elders get together and they sell it. Was this concept of selling public things?
Miami, they sell public parks to developers or beach, right? They want to make it
Or Amazon.
a development.
Or Amazon.
No, the Amazon developers that
They
place.
bought the swamps.
We're talking about America or Brazil?
We're talking about the public area that was bought by Amazon. The developers for the Amazon distribution. Okay. The Mishnah says, "Hamudar hana mechaverei." If someone takes a vow from his friend, that means that he's not going to have benefit. But he doesn't have what to eat. This would be, we had this before, and it's interesting that here's the source of what we've been quoting for 10 times. So, he gives it to his friend as a gift, and another person can take it. There was a story in a person in Beis Chayron, let's see what the word is supposed to be. Mudar himeno. He was prohibited to have benefit from the son. And now the son was marrying off his son. So he would like for his father to come. It's supposed to be lach matana. The meal and the hall, here's called the courtyard, is given to you, is before you, it's given to you so that it's only given to you so that my father should be able to come and eat at the meal. Amar Im Shaliyim, fellow says, okay, if it's mine, so I consecrate it unto heaven. It means that no one can have benefit from it anymore. Amalei, so the person says back to him, I gave it to you, or maybe it's supposed to be loy nasati. Actually, I didn't give it to you for you to consecrate it to heaven. That wasn't the point of this. Amalei, she said to him, Nasatali es shalcha, or loy nasatali es shalcha. You only gave it to me. You gave it to me so that you and your father should be able to eat and enjoy each other's company. And the sin should just be on my head. So Amru Chachamim, supposed to be Shabbat Davar Chachamim. When this matter came in front of the sages, they said, Kol matana she'ena. Any matana that's not supposed to be, that's not anything but, that's not any matana that wasn't made except for a specific person, for a specific reason, that if he consecrates it, it will not become consecrated. So in a matana, then it's not a good gift. In other words, if it's not considered a gift unless the person has the rights to consecrate it. Otherwise, it's not considered his. Now, the commentators here go a little bit wild with one problem, that we know that if someone does a matana al manas lahachzer, gives a gift on condition that it gets returned to him, the person cannot be makdish it. You can't consecrate it. Because of the word kodesh, it's holy. You can't consecrate it.
Even for the time that he admitted to have it.
Even for the time that it's permitted, you can't be makdish it for a amount of time.
Makdish is either all or not.
Right. So that creates a problem with this that we just learned here. That over here we were saying that if you can't be makdish it, then it's not a real gift. And over there we say that you can't be makdish it, and it is a real gift by the matana manasaf. So we say that it's a real gift. So they just explain that what we mean is over there you can't be makdish it because you don't own it after the time is up. But over here, you can't be makdish because you don't own it fully even now. Over there, you don't own it fully. You own it fully for the time being. You don't own it. But over here, you don't own it even for the time being. You don't own it. You can't be makdish it.
Sounds like a loan.
Yeah, like a
Or a
lease.
temporary gift.
If I lend you a hammer for a week, I can't come tomorrow and say, I need my hammer back.
Right.
It's yours for the week.
Right.
Sounds like that's what this is.
So you can't give it away. Yes.
Right. That's what you're talking about by matana manaslah,
Yeah, sounds like it's
Yeah.
a loan.
or at least.
Temporary gift. Money.
Yeah, who asked this? I saw this in two
Totally yours.
places.
Per day. And you give it back, or you just gave it to the temple. Sorry.
Because it doesn't sound like a gift, like if you can't do what you want.
Yeah. Yeah, all the commentators are saying the same point. Here in Taisvis, from Taimar Hamatana Manas Lahachzer is considered a matana. It says over there, before you give it back, it's considered a matana. But over here, even while you have it, it's not really his. So he only has it so that the father should be able to eat. Okay, let's take a look. The Gemara says, right away it asks the question. It says if someone took a vow that his friend cannot benefit from him, and then his friend is hungry, so he should give everything to another person, and then the other person will give it to him, and that will be acceptable. And here's a story, someone in Beis Chayrin that did that, and it didn't work. They just said that that's not good. Gemara says, my solicitor, the story contradicts the rule that you were bringing. This would not be a good argument, right? This is the story knocks off the rule. The story is a question. It's not a support. The Mishnah is missing words, and it has to be explained like this. Okay, Dr. Stein, how did you do that? Daniel, he put a picture of you up as his picture.
I didn't do anything.
Oh, okay.
I can't see it.
Okay. Oh.
I have a question. Like today, when you buy a condo, like the public area, like every owner receives like a percentage
Right.
of the common area,
Right.
but it's not like an assigned.
Right. That's exactly what we're talking about here. That everyone owns a percentage of it. And so therefore, if someone would take a vow against someone else that the other person cannot benefit from him, the public area would be a problem. Because that person has a percentage of the public area.
And the way out would be like
Give it to the condominium president.
yeah, that would be enough.
I don't think anyone trusts them.
No.
When a child dies young, sometimes they say, God gave me a gift. Take it back.
Right.
But that's the only case where you could take back a gift.
Oh, no, that's what you're saying. Yeah, well, that would be a if you borrow a talus also. You don't make a bracha on a borrowed talus. That has to be given to you as a gift. So it's implied when someone gives you a talus. It's implied that it's a.
Tefillin?
No, tefillin is allowed. It doesn't have to be yours, but the tzitzis does.
So it would be the temporary.
It's a temporary gift, right? So the Gemara says it's missing words, and it has to be taught like this. It says really that the gift to someone else will work, and it will allow the other person, Shimon, to have benefit from it, or Reuven to have benefit from it. However, but if the end reveals what he meant as a gift, then it's not going to work. Then it's Aster. And we have a story that expresses this. What we just did is we add in a caveat of that this doesn't always work. And here's a story that will tell you, that shows to you that in some cases it doesn't work. Where the end revealed what he really wanted, because he said, here, this is for you. But for the reason of so that my father should be able to eat at this meal, so then that doesn't work. Amar Rava. Vehinan lefanecha ela kadesh yavayaba. Aval amalei shiyu lefanecha shiyavayaba. Nidaita hu damalei. He has to say that it's only being given to you because I want my father to eat there. But if he just says, there's a gift for you, and my father will come and eat there, then that's not a condition of the gift. That means that the gift is a real gift. And it's just adding in part of his thing, but he's acquiring it fully. Lishna Achrina, Amrlay, there's another version to what Rava said. Amar Rava lay tema taima damlei vavinu lefenachu daser. Aval amlei hein lefenach shevav yechel mutter. Elafilo amlei hein lefenach yavav yechel aser. My time is daser my chachas alav. There's another version of this that says that it doesn't matter if he says they are before you because or only for so that my father should eat, or if he says they are before you and my father will eat, it doesn't matter. Since he's giving him this meal, no one gives away a meal like that just as a gift. Obviously, he's giving it for a reason. He's giving it, he's not giving his son's wedding to someone else. Obviously, he's giving it just for the father. So this meal proves what his intention is, and then it's not going to work. So there's two versions over here. One is that he has to say it, another one that he doesn't have to say it. It's still not going to work. Some interesting discussions here. One is, does he have to say it at the time that he's giving it to him, or can he say it later? The Rashba writes that if it's only if he says it at the time that he's giving it. The Rambam says that even afterwards, even if he says it later. Yeah, it's hard to understand that. There's one other piece over here. Yeah. Quoting a Gemara about someone that's giving 400 zuz to someone else. And he says, this is for you, and you'll marry my daughter.
Oh,
So the person was allowed to take the money and not marry the daughter because he didn't say, so that, or on condition that you marry my daughter. He just said, and the and wasn't a condition. It's like contract law.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be?
And now, and you will, or a difference between you will or you shall. Right?
what about engagement gifts? Like the guy gives the girl a engagement ring for.
Yeah. What did we learn about the engagement things? That do they get returned? We learned something about Eris.
Yeah. Well, I know what we learned, but in general, engagement things are returned, like engagement wedding rings are not like if divorced already the possession of wife. However, I told my first wife she should have returned my engagement ring. She returned nothing. Yeah, but that only lasted 3 months. My mother, she rests in peace, said, thank God you have nothing to remember about. She took everything that I. Sorry. family
Okay.
states that.
Okay. What is that?
You learn a lot.
Who? Gavra. There was a person. Davila bra, Davis Shomet Kipi Bikisna.
Oh, excuse me. She wasn't really my first wife because I got in a no self-marriage never existed. Right? Look, 2 months. This is my own- Yeah, when you give a gift. And then you get married.
Right.
But there's no
Temporarily
record anyway.
Uh-huh.
About that.
Like an example, like temporary deals.
His big sister,
yeah.
Which wedding was bigger?
Now, after a wedding, the engagement gifts are kept. It's only if it's broken, but
Yeah,
before the wedding,
right.
it doesn't.
Once they're married,
Right.
she owns.
Okay, so there was a person that his son was a flax thief, a horse thief. Well, this is
He
a
only
flax
stole
thief.
flax.
He stole flax, and Asrina lenichsela. Well, the father didn't have much nachas from him, so he said that he can't have benefit from his possessions. Now, the Ran explains that he actually had 2 sons, and one son was a good one son was a flax thief. So he said that he wants his son, the good one, to inherit everything. Well, Amrulay, they said, but let's say the flax thief son ends up becoming a yeshiva bacher. You don't want him to have benefits from your possessions. So he says, Amrulay, liknin hadain. Let this son acquire it. In other words, he'll acquire it not for himself, but he'll acquire it just to pass it on to the grandson that hopefully will be a yeshiva bacher. So they have to wait to see what's going to happen. So, but what's happening now? What's the din? So Amri Pumpadisa, he said in Pumpadisa, Kani almanas lahaknesu. This is a case where he's acquiring not for himself, but he's acquiring just to pass it on. And v'chol almanas lahaknes lekani, and it doesn't work. You can't acquire something just to pass it on if it's not yours. If he's not getting it, so how can you acquire it for someone else?
In Torah law, wouldn't the inheritance be split?
Yeah, so there's a problem over here.
according to the-
There's a problem over here because really, how's he supposed to acquire it? I guess what the explanation is, and maybe that's what the Ran meant, is what the Ran saying, is that he has 2 sons, so he's giving it to the other son before the inheritance before he passes away. So he wants to give everything to this son, to the good son, but he's willing to give it to the second son if he's going to have a son that's going to be a yeshiva, a Talmud Chacham, Tzorva Merabanan. So what happens exactly right now? I mean, the father's still alive, and he has 2 sons.
So he gives,
He's dividing it in half.
he's dividing the second half is what
the
we call it, estate.
Right.
Which first half is taken care of now. and
Right.
The second half.
Is
will
the
happen
estate.
now.
Right. Okay, so Pumpadisa says that's not going to work, and it's going to go just to that one brother, just to the good one. Rav Nachman Amar Kani. Nachman says no, he does acquire it. The Hasudra Kani Almanas Laknesu, because a sudar is the cloth. When we spoke about the kinyan. Now, the way the kinyan works, there's a discussion about this, but basically, let's say you want to acquire, I don't know, a cow that's in someone else's, Reuven wants to acquire a cow that's in Shimon's property. So Reuven goes to Shimon, he says, I want to buy that cow. So he says, here's a cloth. Reuven hands a cloth to Shimon. Shimon lifts it up. And when Shimon lifts it up, that's giving it over to, it's sort of like this exchange.
Bill of sale.
Yeah, but that would be a document, right?
Yeah.
But this is not. This is a.
It's symbolic.
It's symbolic, but it's a symbolic exchange of the cloth going from the purchaser to the seller, and by that exchange of the cloth, the item goes from the seller to the purchaser. Yeah, it's called a kinyan sudar. But who owns that cloth? The cloth goes immediately right back to the purchaser. Right? The purchaser hands the cloth to the seller lifts it up. This is one way of doing it. There's another way of doing it, but this is one way. And so that in that exchange, the cloth was given to him not for him to keep. It was given to him for him just to give back to
It was given him to do an
it
action.
was given him to do an action. Okay, so sudra kani al manas lahaknesu. The sudar, it works. It's acquired just in order to give over something to someone else, even though he doesn't actually acquire it. But he's not. You see, if he would be giving the cloth itself to someone else, then this would be a perfect example. If Reuven hands it to Shimon and Shimon doesn't acquire it for himself, but he acquires it for someone else, then that would be great. But it's not matching up as a perfect example. It's just saying that he doesn't acquire it, and nevertheless, through that, the item ends up going to Reuven,
Cow.
the cow.
You got the cow through the means of this cloth.
Right. Okay. Amar Ravashi says, Man leimalan the sudri toughest lay mitzvahs. How do you know, first of all, that Shimon can't keep the cloth? He never wanted it. So it was always, he always gives it back. But maybe if he keeps it, he could keep it. So that would not be a good example back to us, where the father's giving the inheritance to the son, not for himself, but for someone else. Over there, the father can't keep it. Yeah.
I've had this happen a few times with Pidyon Aben. As a Kohen, people say, "Oh, I'm giving you these coins, but I want them back." They're very nice, half shekel coins, or no, $50 coins. Isn't kind of the same problem. I told them, no, you have to give them to me, and I'll think about it.
I think I actually saw this machlekes about that, about if they coins back. That's to buy him back.
Or you can choose to give him the gift back to whoever.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have any rights to it.
Right.
That's the whole question you asked. What do you want more? The coins?
Yeah, I think your answer is a good answer.
That was going to be my answer then.
You don't count. Go back in the.
It's you're not a kayan.
Is the reason why these examples brought up because they're both like examples of a temporary gift? Because
Right. Examples of a temporary gift.
he's like holding it.
Yeah.
On to his son.
Right. It's an example of a gift that's not really playing out fully. Right.
Wait, is it a gift or it's one of the forms of chalif?
Well, we're talking about a kinyan. It's an acquisition. An acquisition that's not really acquiring.
That's one of the two. One is where you just do the action
Right.
in order to allow the other. The other
Right,
was
like
where
this
you
kinyan
allow
siddur
much.
would be, right? Okay, so Rav Papa says, first of all, who says that he can't keep it? V'oid sudra kani al manas lahaknais v'kani hashta v'halei nichsin dahadain leimasai kani l'chi havi bar beitzav merabanan l'chi hava hada sudra lamari. Saying like this. Another point is that the sudar works immediately. As soon as he lifts it up, the item goes to the purchaser. But over here, when is the grandson going to acquire? We have to wait till he goes to yeshiva. We have to see what type of what he's going to turn out to be. So at that point, there's no kinyan anymore. So because there's such a delay in when this is supposed to take place, when this acquisition takes place, so that's why it shouldn't work. But he tells to Rav Nachman. Well, he didn't see Rav Nachman, but that's his claim on Rav Nachman's point. Amalei Rava or Rav Nachman. That's interesting. We jump to Rav Ashi and we go back to Rava. Rava says to Rav Nachman, "Matnas beischayrin dekani al mas laaknisu v'loika kani." Tells to Rav Nachman, what about our Mishnah? Our Mishnah, by the matnas beischayrin, he gave it to him just in order for him to give it to the person's father, that his father should be able to come eat. And over there, it doesn't work. So Rav Nachman answers to this. Sometimes he answered it. Over there was obvious that he didn't really mean to give it to him because of the meal, that he never would have given away his son's wedding meal. He would have, he only wanted to do that just for the father. So we say that doesn't work. And sometimes he says that it's actually the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. Now, this doesn't really have to do with Rabbi Eliezer, according to the commentaries. It's just that Rabbi Eliezer had an opinion that says that we're going to be strict about vitor. Vitor were things that were normally forgiven in a transaction, like the extra cookies that are in the bag. They put in extra. So Rabbi Eliezer says that was prohibited by a vow. By a vow, that would be prohibited. So based on that sort of logic, so over here we're going to be stricter also by this vow. To say that the father cannot have benefit from it just from giving this sort of gift.
I don't understand this argument. You're going 3 generations in an argument. Rava on Rav Nachman and then Rav Ashi, who's coming to later.
Yeah, well, there's a problem here with that, with the order. Why Rav Ashi comes in before Rava is odd. That's an odd point. Yeah. Maybe it's supposed to be Ravasi. Is there a Ravasi in Bethel, or Ravasi was only in Eretz Yisrael? Time-wise, it would have matched. Okay. Well, Tanan, it was started in the Mishnah. Amr Chachamim, Kol Matana She'ena, Shemekdisha Temekdesh Ena Matana Kol Lasu Yemai. Why do you bring in a rule? You bring a rule because you want to include other cases. What other cases are you including? So it's Lasuya Hamilsa the Shadya Bekipi. Lav Lasuya Hamilsa the Shadya Bekipi. Is it not coming in the case of where he's giving it to the son in order to give it to the grandson because the son himself is a flax thief? I don't know. The word Shadya was telling me something else over here on the side. Where he cannot make it hektish. So you're trying to tell me that it's not a good sale. That would be a question on Rav Nachman. It's not a good transaction. That's a question on Rav Nachman that says that he does acquire it. It says lie. It's going to include the last case where Rava says it doesn't matter if he says, we had two versions of Rava's rule, of the way Rava. First, Rava said that if the person says, I'm only giving it to you so that my father can eat there, then it doesn't work. But if he says, I'm giving it to you as a gift, and my father will come and eat it, then it does work. But then the second version was that I'm giving it to you and my father will eat there. It also doesn't work because the Suda proves that he's only giving it for that reason. Now, if that's the case, if we accept the second one, then the call, any type of transaction where the person can't make it hektish is not a good transaction. We would be including that second case. It would be a proof to the second case of Rava, the second version of Rava, where even if he doesn't say on condition that, even if he just says and, that it's also not a good transaction. I'll leave it over here.
The case that had about putting an extra cookie.
Yeah.
That's, you can't do that.
Okay, thank you. Have a wonderful